Live from Honolulu, Hawaii, it's Baptiz by Fire. And here's your host, Justin Baptiz.
Welcome back to another episode of Baptiz by Fire, Conversations with Justin, where we dive into the stories, struggles, and triumphs of our incredible guests. And I'm your host, Justin Baptiz. And we are here with a very special guest, one of the top guys in the sports and entertainment industry. You might know this man from clothing to sports to football to just the global. It's a pleasure to have this guy right here with me, and I'm so proud of you and your success, man, and proud of you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.
We're here with Jon Nielsen. How you doing, my friend?
Good, man. I'm good. How are you?
Good, brother. Good. Just keeping things busy.
Yep. That's all you can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, we talk about your success in your career. I mean, you've been through it all.
Yeah, I've been on both sides of it, right? As a player, coach, manager, agent, mentor. So the longer you stay around this game, the longer you get a chance to give back and do those different things. So yeah, it's been blessed. Been able to have it my journey my way and then pass it on to my kids and help them go through their journey. And we are here. We're here where we're here. We're present now. So it's good.
What's been the key to your success?
Authenticity, real. I mean, good or bad. I mean, I keep it 100. And I would say people like that or don't. It makes you feel a certain way. Typically does when you speak the truth and you try to set forth the good, being a good role model, doing things the right way. And sometimes it comes across as arrogance, brashness, confidence. But I think at the end of the day, if you're a good person, those things take care of themselves. And I try to instill that in my kids, try to give them a voice, a platform to where they could speak on their own. Dad could do it, but when you could do it yourself, you don't need me. I'm just kind of there behind the scenes. So that's kind of the success my kids have had is because of the pressure I put on them at an early age. A lot of people thought I was a crazy dad, the crazy coach, but it was for a purpose, right? I think this day and age has a lot of trophy. Everybody gets a participation trophy, and it's not for everybody. Life is not fair. Life is competition, right? So when you give out awards to everybody, where's the work ethic? People get confused, and I think parenting has gone from being a coach and those things. I'm glad I'm not coaching anymore because of that fact. Everybody feels entitled, and it's kind of one of those things where I recognize in my kids early they were going to be athletic. And once I knew that, I told them, hey, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to put the pressure on you because I see something. Now, if I didn't see that, then I wouldn't set the unreal expectation that a lot of parents do now. There's an unreal expectation for kids to be D1 and get scholarships when the parents themselves didn't do that. So it's like, if you didn't do that, why are you going to put that pressure on your kids? Let them be kids. Let them enjoy the sport, but they don't need to have that stress. But now, if you do recognize something, go all in. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I did. And, I have two kids playing Division I sports. So it's kind of I sit back and pitch myself sometimes because, you talk about these things and then to see it actually come to fruition is pretty crazy.
You talk about your kids, Jaden, who was at Hawaii, now at CSUN.
Yes.
Son, JJ.
Yes. The Hawaii tie has always been there. I helped out with athletics for over 2 decades, almost 3 decades, really, going back work with Colt Brennan and all these different guys, getting Colt, I helped a lot of those guys early on with Colt, Devon, Ryan Grice Mullen, helped them all get their agents, Leonard Peters, everybody that kind of came through that time period. I kind of advised those guys, get NFL agents, help set up pro days and different things. So my association has been with Athletics for a long time. I gave Greg Salas his first pair of Jordans, and he'll tell you that too. So again, to have people like Greg come back and work in the department where I'm able to now with like my affiliation with Waiākea help bolster the NIL stuff for Athletics has been kind of fun to kind of come full circle for me, kind of being the guy on the sideline. Like, who's that guy with the chain? That's why everybody talks about the chain. That's why I have to put it on. If you ask those kids early, who's that guy with all the jewelry on the sideline? Like, I was just on the sideline at practice, at the games. They didn't know who I was, but they knew I was around. So once they kind of found out who I was able to, help those kids navigate, and again, it's all about giving back and helping those guys navigate. So I've always been around Hawaii athletics. So for me, my daughter Jaden was a back girl for a long time for Coach Bob. You know, she helped out at an early age, all their away games, some of the home games. So for that, it was almost like UH has been, I mean, you got to say to this point, it's kind of been a stepping stone for both my kids and for my nephew Corey, who went there to play football as well. So everybody's base started at University of Hawaii, and then everybody's got a different story, different life to live, and things work out, don't work out, and you take the chance and you go somewhere else. And my daughter's had great success at CSUN. Now not to say that it couldn't have happened in Hawaii, but I think Hawaii got her ready for the success she had this last year. You know what I mean? So, and I think with JJ, him coming there and doing two sports, which no one's really done. And to be honest, I don't think anybody's ever going to do that in the next 10, 15 years. It'd be possible. And then to have his grades come out, he had a 4.0 for the semester. So you really talk about the trifecta: kid graduating high school early, enrolling in college early, coming in playing spring football, baseball, and carrying a full 13 unit load and getting a 4.0. So that just speaks on him as a student athlete. Take the dad out of it. Him doing that is kind of mind blowing, So I think that me being able to be there and kind of help out and see that kind of happen, see him become the person, the man he's going to be, is for a dad has been like, a proud moment, but it's like surreal, right? To him to go there and have Timmy allow him to share him with baseball and to let him get his reps at football and just go out there and have fun. And, because there's only a couple places he could have done this at for football because of this knowledge of the offense. So with him being able to come here and just show up to practice, and you saw it at practice, it was like he was at me. He didn't go to any meetings because he couldn't, because of the NCAA rules and that, right? He couldn't, no meetings, no weightlifting with football. He basically just showed up Monday, Wednesday, Friday to practice. And what you saw was just off of him being a football player, so you would have thought that he'd been in all the meetings with all those different things. He just went out there and just went to work, So for that, I'm super proud, and to see it happen, it was like, kind of like, oh wow, he could play a little bit,
You mentioned the University of Hawaii and their success in athletic and various different sports.
Yeah.
With you just having the knowledge and being able to do what you've been able to do throughout years of your success, your growth, your development, I must say, congratulations on your incredible career journey. In July of 2020, you partnered with Waiākea, their sports and entertainment marketing. And I'm quite curious, because Waiākea is definitely out there.
Obviously, Kolten Wong was a long time and still a client of mine. He actually he was at playing baseball when my nephew Corey was there. So Corey had class with Alyssa, Colton's wife. So I knew Kolten. I was working with Shane Victorino, and in 2013, that's when, I went out there for the World Series and then, got to, spend more time with Kolten. Colton's mom was going through her cancer and those different things. So it was a real trying time for them. But since 2013, till now, I've been working with Kolten. So Waiakea hit us up because they're from Hilo and wanted to do some different things. I wasn't too familiar with the brand. They reached out, and then it kind of fell through a little bit. Then the new management came into play, reconnected, and then all of a sudden, we started doing a bunch more things with Waiakea. So then I started doing what I do. I kind of started getting into my people, and then one thing led to another. It's like, okay, we got Kolten dialed in. Now we want to find a way to bring you on to do what you do. So then, I was able to bring, Kolten in, Shane Victorino, Kirby Yates, Marcus Mariota, a bunch of different people that are from Hawaii. So really as an investment point of view, it's Hawaiian money back into the company. Then we got Aaron Judge and some other people that were investors as well because of those relationships. But, just being able to have Kolten, Shane, Kirby, all those different people and Marcus in there kind of, solidifies, being a local brand with local money ties.
You talk about Waiākea and obviously just how the collaboration came together. Yeah. What achievements stand up to you as far as just being a part of it?
I think it's fun, just bring some authenticity to it, connecting with the local athletes, the local entertainers, being able to have them share in the brand. I think a lot of people, the farther away you get from the island, the more success you have, a lot of people don't give back. So I think that having your core roots in the islands, being able to seed Hawaiian events, kind of fun to be able to help in that process and bringing off that authenticity to it, the realness of it too, because it's the office is in Hilo, everything is bottled in Hilo, so it's on the island. It's not like a mainland brand trying to push something that it's not.
When we talk about just the marketing side of things, and you've been involved with the sports and entertainment
Yeah.
industry for years, I'm gonna go back a little bit.
Hey, go back. Yeah, I saw you did some research. I saw you like some of the old posts from a few years back on the Instagram and all that. Yeah, so go ahead. I'm ready.
Since 2004, you've been the driving force of Boyz II Men and their lifestyle marketing.
Yeah, that's been fun. And I was able to share. So I guess when it goes down to it, I started working with New Edition through a contact with that new Ricky Bell. So Ricky kind of brought me into to everybody, and then I was at '04 when they signed with Bad Boy, they signed with Puff. It basically got him out of the MCA deal, so it was good for them. But Puff had no money for marketing and for different things, so that was really my internship. So I helped get him clothes for music videos, performances, and whatnot. So I was back in the heyday of urban streetwear, Sean John Fat Farm, Jordan Brand was doing a bunch of different things. So I got those guys all laced up. And then our PR girl, Heidi, said, "Hey, I got a request for Boyz II Men to do a shoot. Would you be interested?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." We did a shoot for Dub Magazine, and it was just the three of them. They rebranded themselves with a three-man group back then. And I did it. It worked out. And the manager loved me and said, "Hey, the boys want to find a way to keep you on payroll. Let's figure something out." So, we're 20 plus years in here now. And one of the main things was kind of cool. I kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit was, the entertainment director for the Jordan brand, Reggie Saunders, is a really good friend of mine. So even before I was officially on payroll, and Reggie was at BNC, the ad agency that he wasn't even full-time Jordan brand yet. I was like, we got to figure out a way for Jordan Brand to do something with Boyz II Men for the Retro 11. Because I don't think people realize Boyz II Men were the first music group to wear the Retro 11 shoes with a tuxedo. Okay, now going back a little bit, let the story plays out. Tinker Hatfield, who designed the shoe, when he and Michael designed it, Michael said, "Someone's going to wear this with a suit." So Tinker tells a story one day, I think it was American Music Awards. The next day, Tinker's at home. His wife answers the phone, goes, "Honey, Michael's on the phone." He's like, "Michael who?" So, pick up the phone and he goes, "I told you, motherfucker. I told you someone's gonna wear my shoes." He's like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Look, Boyz II Men rocked his shoes with a tux." So basically that kind of launched lifestyle marketing for the Jordan brand. Because before there was no crossover. If you think back, it was just basketball shoes. There was no lifestyle component to it. We're 20, 30 years removed from that moment, and people are still wearing retro 11s with tuxedos and those different things. So with that being said, we're actually designing a shoe that's going to come out sometime in the fall. Friends and Family, a Retro 11 Boyz II Men collaboration shoe. So it's taken 20 plus years for it to happen, but it's been in the works for 20 plus years. So ever since I started working with the group and my affiliation with Reggie and the Jordan brand, it's going to kind of come to fruition this fall. So it's kind of fun. And then New Edition wise, my daughter Jaden is a New Edition baby, and JJ is a Boyz II Men baby. So it's kind of fun to be able to, because they obviously know all the songs. That's all I play in the house. So I was able to take JJ to Las Vegas to see the New Edition residency, which was cool because I got to see him, and they shouted me out during the show. Ricky and Mike Bivens and those guys gave me shout out because they knew I held them down for so long, during that Bad Boy run. And that was kind of cool for my son to see. It's funny, JJ didn't know who Arsenio Hall was, so we're backstage, and I'm like, "Take a picture with," I know Arsenio. I was like, "Hey, take a picture." He was like, "Who is that?" I'm like, "Dude, look it up." You know what I mean? So again, to be able to share different generational things with him was kind of cool. And then from that, he wanted to go to a Boyz II Men show, so we, were able to take him to the Boyz II Men show they had at the Shell. So that was kind of fun for him. I left him in the room with Waiākea and Nate. Well, Sean's getting his makeup and hair done before the show. He's in there, and Wanye's doing his riffs and singing, doing his warm up, and Jig is in there just like, kind of like crazy. So for me to be able to share the music, the relationships I have that kind of since their birth has been kind of fun to have. I grew up with those guys. I mean, I think with New Edition, early elementary days, the soundtracks, your first love, your first different things, With You All the Way, Lost in Love, and then to have Boyz II Men come in there, my senior year is when Motown Philly came out. So to have that kind of hit off and be bangers, and then, through people, I mean, I always music is the the craft, the vessel of life, right? You equate things with where you were when this happened. So I just know certain things, certain songs mean certain things to you. And I just know that, with Boyz II Men, there was just a bunch of different songs that hit different than most, right? The ballads, the way they went about singing things without telling you what they were going to do. Like nowadays, like just it's graphic, right? It's rated R now versus before it was like PG-ish, very sultry and sexy. So I think that with those things, it's been fun to be on that journey with them because I grew up with that. So to be able to work with them and all those different things is kind of it's still surreal, right? I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that you get to work with people that you kind of grew up idolizing.
I kind of want to go into what your projects have been. You've obviously founded the Aquarius Group, pioneer in not only just the lifestyle marketing, but also on the NIL side of things. So
Sure.
what inspired you to launch that? And
That started with my roommate Derek Smith, who's he's an attorney now. He was an Aquarius and I was an Aries, so I was like, you know what, let's do Aquarius. So he let me roll with that. He went on and did his lawyer thing, and once upon a time I took my LSAT. I had one of my agents, Ron Brown, was like, you got to be a lawyer. So he forced me. I took my LSAT, got into law school, deferred my enrollment for 2 years, and then I was when I started working with Boyz II Men and kind of just figured that, you know what, I'm going to hire good attorneys. So I kind of put that law school thing to bed and those different things. But I think that you have to have good counsel. And I have some good lawyers that I depend on when I need them. And with the NIL space, it's something that's not going away and all things are not equal. I think a lot of people misconstrue what NIL is and what it really the function is and what the difference is between collectives and NIL and different things. I think there's a lot of bad information out there with people. It's a driving force in athletics and it's not going anywhere because there's no governing body. NCAA is kind of powerless with these things. And it's state by state. And I think Hawaii's been hit hard with this because of the lack of true NIL, true boosters. The state doesn't have that. And the guys with the money are just not going to do it. Oh, it's kind of one of those things. It's a catch-22. You need it, but you're not going to get it. So I think the Hawaii scenario was a lot like a lot of mid-majors. It's going to be the JCs because you're going to get a kid, have to play him early, have him come in, and he's going to go someone's going to throw a bag at him, a seven-figure bag at him, six-figure bag at him. Again, when you don't have much to work with, 6 figures is more than nothing. You know what I mean? So it's kind of one of those things where you get a kid and you got to sell them on the location to come play, and you do well, we'll help you go somewhere else. But I think you're not going to see the kids that stay in one place for a long time, without being paid, compensated, right? You just saw which is the receiver that went to the portal from Hawaii late. He went in there, so I'm sure he's getting some NIL deal when he signed. You know what I mean? So that's the name of the game. It's if you can't afford to keep some kids home, you're going to lose them. And that's just a landscape, and it happens a lot all over. But I think that unless they're able to get some kind of true booster that's going to fund annually, $1 million to $500,000 to be able to compensate players, you're just not going to get the kind of kids you're going to want to get. You're not going to be able to compete with the P4s that could actually pay the kids to come there.
And you would say that that's probably some of the misconceptions of the NIL?
Yeah, I think the misconceptions is NIL is name, image, likeness, right? So really the kid, I mean, that's why I think I talked about this with Rob DeMello and those guys about 4 years ago when I first started. I always said female athletes are going to make more money than the guys because name, image, likeness, they're out there already. They could do bikini shots, they could do modeling, hair care, different things, and they could grow their Instagram followers and actually make money doing these things. So that's that name, image, likeness kind of thing, right? So the difference between that and a collective is just a booster, someone like, hey, I'm going to give you money. Okay. That's it. I'm going to give you 10,000, just because doesn't have to be a reason. Now, name, image, likeness is I'm going to use you for my company, for marketing, for different things, right? So I think it's a little bit different when I'm going to pay you for an appearance or to promote my product versus, hey, I'm just going to give you 10,000 because I can, because I have money. That's what boosters are, right? And these things have been going on. There's always been bagmans at every big school. Now it's legal, so now it's really not going away because kids were getting paid, back when Eric Dickerson was playing. He still won't talk about how much money he made at SMU, but those guys were getting paid, so those are the guys that want access. Boosters are the ones that want access. They want access to the AD, to the facility, to the players. So they're going to pay those things, right? Hell, when I played arena football, I had the same thing. I had a car dealership gave me a car because he wanted a parking pass and come hang out with the guys before and after the game, and they made it happen. And I got a car out of it. So these deals have been going on for a long time, They're not reinventing the wheel. It's just there's not enough of those guys in Hawaii to come out there and just say, how can I support this?
You've definitely been about support throughout your years of experience. The word Aquarius definitely has a big name for you, being that, from 2004 to 2024, over 20 years,
Yeah.
Aquarius Entertainment.
And don't put age on me. Don't put age on me.
I mean, we can talk about just the talent management, the endorsement deals. I mean, people like Kolten Wong, Aaron Hall, Dwayne Washington,
Yeah,
Josh
yeah.
Perkins. Talk about just the rewarding part of building this agency. And
Even when I was playing, I was always, what else could I do? Because the football, the training, those things were already ingrained in me. So I was always like the locker room lawyer. I was always a bridge between the coaches and management and the players. So I was that guy. I was always that guy in college and in the pro teams I was with. So, when I coached, obviously, I was the recruiting coordinator. So it's the same thing, right? I'm selling the players, relationships. And then to see the kids, kind of cool to even have this. I mean, Colton's a kid to me still too, right? To see him go from a college kid to a pro to a husband to a father. Those are the things that are rewarding, right? Because you see them grow up, right? And they see my involvement on how I, raise my kids, and they're like, I want to do what you did because, my kids were always along the way when I was helping them on their journey, right? My kids were young. Now it's my kids' time, and they recognize, their kids are just starting out young. So like, man, how did you do this? Even with Shane asked me, he goes, how was it when you were coaching your son? Because he's coaching his son. So I think that, from, doesn't matter what kind of money you've made in your pro career, when you become a parent and you got to coach your kid, everybody's at ground zero, right? Those things don't matter. It's how you navigate those things, right? So I think having gone through that, now I'm someone with a little bit of wisdom in those different things to kind of help mentor and say, you got to do this, kind of maybe stay away with that. Because everybody always says, oh, I'm not going to coach my kid. Until you go to the first practice and understand that somebody else is coaching them wrong, you're going to jump right in and coach. And that's why Shane got in there and started doing his flying Hawaiian baseball team. Same thing. Colton's said, I'm not going to do it, but trust me, Colton's going to go coach his kid. You know what I mean? It's inevitable. You're going to want to go on there and you're going to want to share that knowledge. And, I've always said that with me coaching my nephews and coaching my kids, whoever's along for that journey gets to eat too, right? So I just happen to have a lot of people that have been on that train, that road with me, that are able to parlay it into other things, with Dwayne and Josh and these guys that have had long NFL careers. And, now they're on the second phase of their life now, So to me, to see those kids do those things and change their life to make money and then, be good people, no one's been arrested. There's a lot of people, that coach and do all these different things, and they have siblings that get arrested. And it's like, man, it's like, what are you teaching them? I want to have good, solid, quality human beings, that I could hang my hat on because I know I mentor them and I steer them in the right direction.
I mean, we could talk about just spearheading and what you've been able to do just throughout your career in sports and entertainment. But let's kind of dive into motion sports.
When I was playing every off season, I kind of got involved doing commercial work. So I'd always do commercial work. We'd have a bunch of guys that did football commercials and different things. So, I would always come and do it. And I got, I had probably like four national commercials that I did. I did a Gatorade one that probably made the most money. I made over 100,000 on a half day's work. So we'll kind of delve into that later. But I went on a casting call for when Microsoft was doing NFL Fever. I don't know if you remember that. Microsoft's first football game was NFL Fever. So I got cast to do all of Peyton Manning's quarterback motions. Did it at the House of Moves out here in California. Ben Camarillo, longtime motion capture video game vet, cast me. So I did that. And they liked me so much, they want to keep working with me, but I had gone away to go play arena. So they called me and were like, hey, you available? I was like, I'm not available, but you know what? I could get some guys to work for you. So, my crew of guys that we did commercial with, called them. And that's how motion sports management came to be. I was like, oh, I'm gonna start an agency out of this. So basically, I got a stable of guys to go work and do motion capture, the motion capture with the sensors, do all the motion capture work. I told Microsoft, hey, I need 20%. And then, my guys kicked me 10%. So I'm making 30% on certain things. And that's how it rolled. And we shot consistently 2, 3 times a year. And my guys that were on the Microsoft team ended up going to EA. So I worked on Madden for a long time doing that. And then it got to football and it went to basketball, all the different things. So it was a fun process doing all those things, and to be able to come back and help my guy David Ortiz, who was the main producer on Madden for a long time. He started his own little venture. It's a gambling venture. They're doing different things. So we were able to come back about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, right when COVID hit, and we started doing more motion capture stuff. And I was able to bring a bunch of University of Hawaii players back and do some motion capture with them. So again, it was another island tie to be able to kind of give back and put those guys to work. So the video game part of it, I was into it very heavy for a long time.
Yeah, it's definitely been doing
Yeah.
a lot of
So
fun creative activities with that.
yeah. So I mean, we went to go shoot up in Canada at the EAC. We use a Sony facilities in San Diego still. Yeah, so everybody kind of went along and went from Microsoft, Xbox to PlayStation to EA to 2K. So I mean, over the years, we've done a lot of different things. We had meetings with the Maloof brothers when they owned the Palms about doing a lifestyle with the Sony, the NBA, the Life game. So I mean, there's been some fun things that I've been able to kind of sit in on. You know what I mean? Even like going back with Master P, he did a thing with like Sony. Do you remember the $1 million wheels? They had those luxury wheels. They made all the jewelry that like they sold those sets. So I was kind of the one that kind of put that together with a company called IceLink. And this is what I got. I would have took a commission, but this is the watch I got from IceLink for kind of putting that deal together for them. But that was fun to sit on a meeting and get P together with those guys. So I've had a very fun and interesting life up to this point.
Yeah, motion sports management. You got started with that in 98 to 2020. That was
How old were you? Were you born yet?
I was born in 94.
That's funny. Yeah.
We talk about clothing. I mean, we could talk about just your time with Jed, 2010.
Yeah. With Jed, that was my baby. The owner, Mark, passed away a few months back. He let me run with that thing, man, and got that was a fun run we had because he had all these different crazy sweaters that we hooked up with sneakers and all those different things. And I had been working with all the Jersey Shore guys during that whole Jersey Shore run. I got them hooked up with a bunch of different brands that I was working with at the time. So, I had all these connections, so I was able to kind of put the Jed Clothing, all over the place, on TNA Wrestling, it was on wrestling, it was on, actors and singers. Wayne Brady wore it on when he was doing the show and singing. Cedric Entertainer was rocking it. Michael Yo was wearing it when he was doing Access Hollywood. You know, it was pumping. Product placement and all those different things. You know, that was fun. And I'm still doing the same thing now, but that was really fun then because all those guys were just starting out doing things. It's been fun to be able to help curate brands, kind of reach the potential they want to get to.
Yeah, you were doing Jed Clothing as a brand consultant in 2010 to 2013, and
Yep.
uh, Jersey Shore, Entourage, NBA All-Star.
Those guys, man, yeah. It was fun, man. We were able to put we did a collaboration with the Jordan brand for the MJCI for his invitational. It was fun, to be able to do all those fun projects. You know, I did a lot of stuff with, I ran Starter Black Label for a long time, so I was able to get a lot of the Hawaii brands, Quick Strikes, and those different kind of things. And with that, it's kind of funny because the Queen Street now they did this, the starter jackets. They brought that back with with G3, who Carl Banks is a good friend of mine too. So it's kind of I had to tell Kev about that whole story, right? How that came to be, because I did all the Black Label stuff, and then years later, they're doing the starter jacket, the UH baseball starter jacket. So that was kind of cool to see.
And not only did you do brand consultant for Jed Clothing in 2010, a year before that, you did some things with Rebel Spirit Clothing.
With Jersey Shore, I remember I got a call from the stylist. Jenny Elizabeth was like, "Hey, these guys, season one, and they were wearing your stuff. Is there any way we could get some more product?" So from season one until the last season it ran, it was all Rebel Spirit. And I remember I used to get into arguments with the owners who were from China. They're like, "Why are we send to same people all the time?" I was like, "Watch what's gonna happen." Literally, online sales was probably 5 to 10,000 during the season. It jumped up to about 200,000 a month without advertising. They just saw the blinged out stuff. So what I would do is I go drop the stuff off at the hotel when they're staying out here, and they would all wear it, the girls and the guys. So, and to this day, Polly's cool. I'm cool with Ronnie and all those guys. So, I mean, I was part of TV history. You know, it was funny. I got a call one day, I think it was season 3 or 4. They're like, everybody came out wearing a piece of Rebel Spirit, and everybody kind of came out of the room and looked at each other and laughed, you know. So it was that was one of those moments. And then I think the best moment came when people started posting signs on clubs. If it's on the Jersey Shore, it's not coming through the door. So basically all the blinged out $200 shirts, it got so played out on MTV and Jersey Shore, they wouldn't let you come wear that stuff in the club. So I was part of a renaissance of having the blinged out stuff kind of go away and everybody kind of go to simple clothing back in the clubs because of the Jersey Shore success. So I thought that was kind of funny to have happen.
When you talk about the Rebel Spirit Clothing and how that pretty much stargaze Jersey Shore, I mean, not only just that, I mean, Ghost
Zach
Adventure.
Zach Baggins, Dog the Bounty Hunter. Right? Dog still, I just saw an Instagram post from Dog the other day. Dog still rocking stuff I gave him 10 years ago. He's still rocking the Rebel Spirit. I think it was El Chapo or one of the drug lords got arrested. So he's surrounded by all these people and all this crazy security stuff. And you see him handcuffed, and all you see on the side was Rebel Spirit. Yep, yep. Well, so TNA Wrestling created two characters, Robbie E and Cookie from the Jersey Shore. So I remember I talked to the TNA production people like, "Hey, we're starting two new characters to kind of spoof off the Jersey Shore. Can you hook them up?" So I hooked them up. I gave him the Rebel Spirit clothing. I gave him the luxury laces rosary from my boy Jeff George from his company. So they had everything the Jersey Shore guys rocked. They had on TV. So that was kind of cool to have for a couple years, and then that evolved back to the Jed. They switched characters up. I had my other guy Robbie E, who's still a WWE wrestler now. He had another guy had a thing called the list. You're not on the list, bro. Like, so there was a whole thing where they would match the cardigan sweaters. It was a fun time.
When we talk about just the success of you being a part of Rebel Spirit Clothing, and this was after the adrenaline of pro football for you in your careers,
Yeah.
what made the marketing hustle so thrilling for you?
I just had a Rolodex of a lot of things because I was my own PR manager when I played, right? So I was the one that got my own, I sent press kits out and, to this, Mad Soul was one of the first companies I sent it out to. So Mad Soul was Mark D'Amelio, his company. Mark D'Amelio is Dixie and Charlie D'Amelio's father of TikTok fame, right? So Mark is one of my oldest industry friends that, I started rocking his stuff when it was just entertainment stuff, right? Now he's a conglomerate, he's a brand. I mean, it's kind of crazy to see the evolution that he hit with his kids, and he and his wife, Heidi, are able to parlay it into millions of dollars for them, for the family. But again, it all started from me sending a press kit out and him sending me stuff, kind of funny. It's kind of crazy how the universe works and how things kind of line up and the ride people take.
You've definitely have built a legacy just from the thought of it all and even to your success now. But I'm sure a lot of people, and even some that don't know, that you've had a pro football legacy as well from 96 to 2002. You were the first pro quarterback to throw 11 touchdowns in a single game. And you played in the NFL, CFL, XFL, and AFL. But what stands out to you most about just your pro football career?
I think anytime I got an opportunity to play, I had success. Um, Thinking back to that, because I've been on teams where I wasn't the starter and didn't play, so it was cool. But anytime that I got to be myself and had the opportunity, I did extremely well. And again, I think coaching my kids is surrounding them in the right environment to have the right opportunity because nothing's given. There's so many things that could go wrong or whatever, but you want to have the chance and the opportunity to have success. So you really got to find a coach that's going to allow you to be you. And I found that coach in John Jenkins, University of Houston, run and shoot innovator. David Klinger, Andre Ware, all those guys set all those records. I was blessed to have him play for him 4 years of my career. And he really let me be me. And, it's still the run and shoot lifestyle. It's a multiple adjusting offense. That's how life is. You deal with things as they come. So I think that, you know, he gave me the opportunity to be myself. So I wanted to be that person to give opportunities to other people that may not have had that. So I think that the kids that I got scholarships for and the kids that I helped, get to the NFL and that they understood the opportunity and the gift that I gave them, right? Because it was an opportunity. It was because of relationships they may not have gotten, but I gave them a gift. And then it was up to them to live up to it or not, and a lot of them had some great success. My kids are going through that now. It's the right opportunity and the right coach to bring out the best in the player.
And in speaking of that, from 1993 to 2024, you've witnessed massive shifts in sports marketing. Trends do you consider most transferable, and how have you adapted?
Everything information now is so instant, the phone, everything that had to be done before through mail and different things, everything is instant. So I think these kids nowadays, everything is so instant, everything instant gratification. And I think that takes away from the grind, being able to put in the blue collar work, putting in the work behind the scenes, because everybody now wants to document it. You know what I mean? So I think that it's still, you have to produce, right? Life is competition. There's a million people want to do what you do and take your job and take your money. So it's who you align yourself with, right? Who can you call on the phone to get you in the room, to get you the phone call, right? It's a relationship. You may know the same people I do, but can you go into the same rooms that I could go into with those people? Does that make sense? So just because you know somebody and I know somebody doesn't mean you're going to be in that person's circle, right? So I think introductions are a big part of your affiliation. So, I've been to so many Jordan Brand parties. I remember Cedric the Entertainer came up to me one time and was like, "Hey man, I see you at all these damn parties. Like, what do you do and who do you know?" You know what I mean? So really, so for him to even come and talk to me, not even know who I was, but he knew who I was because association. He knew I was somebody because I was at an event that not everybody could get into. You know what I mean? So I think that, you want to be included in the rooms the higher up you go. And you do that by networking and being able to have follow through. So certain things never change. Production, follow through, being good at your job, you know, those are things that you still have to be proficient at certain things to have success. Got to have a little bit of luck. And, you got to, it's not who you know, it's whom, the plural, whom you know in life, because you never know where people go to and those different things. So you never want to big time people, because I always say, you see them going up, you're going to see the same people when you come down. And it's how you treat the people, right? So I was always cool with the guys that parked our cars, that worked our locker room, that did our food service. You're nice to those people. You see them out in public, and you could go places that maybe you shouldn't go to because they take care of you because you took care of them. Now, if you were not a good person, they wouldn't care about you. So I think that those qualities exist even in this day and age of instant gratification and these different things that all these social media apps and the kids, what they post and all those different things. So there's still old school mentality as far as the work you put in, the kind of person you are matter still.
Now, in regards to that, with the success, I know that I asked you
Yeah.
previously what's been the key to your success, but
Yeah.
knowing that you've worked in diverse brands and talents, what's been your philosophy of just building long-term partnerships in such a competitive industry?
I think being able to, the lifestyle marketing wasn't really a thing until a few years back. It was marketing, kind of, people had a hard time describing what I did and those different things. And I think, my boy Chris Styles over on the air 93.1 was like, you're the influencer's influencer. So I thought that was kind of funny. So I kind of use, some of the things that he talked about to explain what I do. So I basically, I help people enhance their brands. I help them as individuals. So I don't necessarily call it a life coach, but I help the people that trust me with being able to manage and advise their careers. I take that as family, take that to heart, right? So I think that authenticity means a lot. Whatever lifestyle certain people have, I kind of curate deals and those different kind of things, how their lifestyle works, right? Some people like jewelry, some people like fishing, some people like to surf, some people like to hunt. So really, it's just kind of what you want to do to take care of. I just thought it was funny, when, probably 5 years in working with Kolten, I saw a bunch of guys with the Baltimore Orioles, and those guys are like, oh yeah, man, you're Wong's guy. Yeah, we see you all the time, you know what I mean? So just, just to be able to have that association, like, hey man, we see you doing what you're doing for him, and you know, we think that's cool. So I think everything is with association and your follow through. Because a lot of people, and I'm sure you see it too, a lot of people have a lot of empty promises but no follow through. So I think follow through is a big, big key to success. Doing doing the things you say you're going to do. Being a professional. I call that being a professional. You may not like it, but if I told you I was going to do something, I'm going to make good on it and we're going to finish it out.
Being a professional in the industry,
Yeah.
how did you pivot from negotiations or partnerships that didn't go as planned?
I think you have to let your client and different people, you have to help them see the vision, right? So their vision may not be my vision for it, but I'm going to help them figure out what their vision is. Does that make sense? So I think sometimes you don't agree with everything that they ask you to do, but you do it and you find the best in both, right? Because again, it's all common ground, right? You don't want to be a dictator in things. You want to be someone who's open-minded to do different things. So I think that, it goes back to the lifestyle, right? It's the run and shoot lifestyle. When something stops you here, let's find a way to go around it and go over here. You know, so I think being able to pivot from instead of banging my head on why this door is closed, let's go figure out how to open up this door over here. Because again, life is about opportunity. So when one opportunity closes here, we got to go find another opportunity over here. To get, the end goal. If the end goal is here, I took a very windy road to get to my destination, but that made me who I am, right? So I always tell my kids, if you could get from A to B in a straight line, take that. Take the straightest line possible, right? And then when you get in bumps, you can figure some things out, but go straight as long as you can. Where I went all the way around to get to where I want to go. So I think that every experience, every setback it sets you up for success. Because again, if you only know success, you don't know failure, you don't know how to navigate, right? I want the guy that's failed a bunch of times and got it right because I know that he knows what he's doing versus someone that just had success and doesn't know failure, doesn't know how to deal with that, right? Doesn't know how to deal with losing the game or not playing as well as you should. Those things make the wins that much more better. So you can't win all the time. Like it wouldn't be fun if you won all the time. It doesn't build character, right? It gives you a false sense of how things really work.
Absolutely. With that being said, any advice for anybody who's going to break into the celebrity partnerships without a massive budget?
I can just tell you there's always a way. That if there's a will, there's a way. You just got to find the right person that's going to unlock that for you. And I was able to find that in all different phases of my life. From college, my professor, Alfred Ballitzer, took me under his wing, and it's the only reason how I graduated college. So I mean, along the way, cherish the people that come into your life to guide you, and understand too that not everybody's going to be in your life for the journey. Not everybody is going to have the vision you have. So sometimes when you go up, this person's going to get off your bus, and it's okay, right? You don't have to understand why. It's just certain things happen in life. not everybody's going to be along with you, and it's okay. And I think that when you're young, you don't understand that. Everybody's not your friend. Everybody doesn't have the best interest for you, but cherish the ones that really do. And I think that champion the ones that champion you, right? Be a good friend to those that are good friends to you, and not just because they want something, those different things. You know what I mean? So I think I've had to talk to a lot of people over the time when people get let go from brands or like, oh, everybody stopped calling, no one, So I think people have a hard time dealing with rejection and failure, right? So it's like, okay, listen, that's part of life. You got to protect yourself with the cluster of people that could get you through those times to figure things out. So I think the best advice I could give somebody is be authentic and surround yourself with like-minded people. And just remember, I mean, we talk about this. One of my friends, Joe Douglas, was a receiver when it went XFL. We used to always joke, like, man, he used to always say, nobody cares. And that was like our mantra. It's like, no one cares. So they could cut us tomorrow and, nobody cares, you know. So those words hold true, right? So cherish the ones that actually that actually care about you, because not everybody does. I think that, in Hawaii too, I think it's culturally, I think more people have more aloha for other people than in a lot of other places. So I think that, when you're there, a lot more people want to see more people win than not. You know what I mean? So I mean, that's just life, right?
Absolutely. And knowing that you've gone through just the growth and the development with everything that you've had in your career, is there anything that you wish you would have known when you first started out in your career?
No, I just know that I have a certain amount of time left here, and it got here pretty quick. So the sunset part of my life is I want to surround it with people and experiences that I want to be with. Like I don't have time for nonsense. You know what I mean? You go through different phases of life, thinking everybody's gonna help this and that and the other. But then the reality is like, listen, I want to be and celebrate and make memories with the people I want to make memories with, right? And I think that for me, my kids, I want to be present in everything they do. It's not a hover dad, it's not a hover parent. I'm do certain things extremely well that I do for other people. So I'm gonna do those same things for my kid. Like, and if you have a problem with that, then you have a problem with that. You know what I mean? Like if I'm helping guys that make a lot more money than I do, and they're trusting my guidance, my kids are going to trust my guidance. You know what I mean? So I think that I don't need to apologize for a lot of different things, and I don't have tolerance the older I get to, you know, play things politically correct. If it's BS, I'm going to call BS. You don't like that, then that's fine. So I think that the older you get, the more truthful things are because you realize you have less time ahead than I've had behind me. Does that make sense? So I think that with that, you have a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of reality. It's like, okay, how do I want to spend my next hopefully 30 years of life? How do I want to fill that cup up?
Which leads into my last question. What can we expect from you in the near future?
For me, I'm just going to continue to do the things that I do. My daughter's coming up on her senior year. We're in the position now to leverage some internships with some friends. I happen to know certain CEOs of certain companies and get her internship, and then with JJ, figure out what his next destination is going to be, what his next opportunity is going to be, and kind of navigate that. With Kolten, um, set up his nonprofit and start his legacy part of his life to kind of help with those different things, help him set up a facility on Oahu with his brother Keen and do some different things. So I'll be involved with that. I just think that overall, helping the people that have helped me get here, with Waiākea, help that flagship grow. We're going to open up in Japan. We're going to sell out there and just kind of help the company grow more and, just do more cool things, and things that have meaning, right? I think that I don't know what the next experience or what the next journey is going to be, but it's, we'll figure it out when it presents itself, right?
That's awesome, man. You've definitely presented a lot of things.
Yeah, it's a lot of different things. We could talk for 2 more hours about all different kind of tangents off this little linear conversation we've had.
You talk about Waiakea, which leads into a question of mine. There's a lot of water out there.
The best thing I could tell you is if you're a water snob, it checks all the boxes for all the different things that we have on that. I mean, it's naturally filtrated on the, on Hilo, on the volcanic, on the volcano side. It rains so much, so it gets naturally filtrated coming down into our aquifers. So I mean, it's the best thing I could tell people is you got to try it. Like I could tell you about it, but it means nothing until you try it, and that's what hooks everybody. I have people like Debrat. Debrat's a friend. Her manager is one of my really good friends. So, she shouts us out, and we get a big spike and all these different things. So really, and we don't pay her to do that. She does that because she loves the water, and it's a relationship, right? So again, I tell people there's no shortcuts in life to the quality of person you are. You know what I mean? You have to be able to pick up the phone and call people and talk to them, and you got to be genuine with them, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't. We wouldn't be sitting here doing this interview right now if he didn't think I was cool, or it was someone made you do it. I mean, it's just it wouldn't be worth your time or my time. It wouldn't be authentic. So again, it's a relationship. It's the you're a good guy. Let's talk about your story. So that's all it is. Just keep having fun with the people that you want to have fun with.
I'm definitely proud of you and your success, brother. You've been doing it from the very beginning, and keep up the great work, man.
Yeah, man, it's fun. I appreciate, coming on this and being able to do this, and appreciate you being out there practice and watching, and being a big supporter of JJ, and all those different things. So those things all mean things too, right?
And that concludes another conversation with Justin. You can reach Justin Baptiz on any of his social media handles listed here. So until we meet again, remember, it's Baptiz by Fire.